guys. Can't be with you this afternoon because I have a doctor's appointment, but I still wanted to be able to read you the beginning of our book because I hate missing it. So we're going to have story time with Miss Simpson, even though it's on video. So go ahead and get out the most beautiful roof in the world. We're going to start reading this today. All of you should have a copy. I'm currently reading copy 18 right now. A weird thing about this book, it doesn't have page numbers. So you're just going to have to figure out where I am, and I'll try to be really clear with the pictures of where we're starting. I'm going to try and label these books with page numbers before the end of the unit, but I just haven't gotten to it yet, so just stick with me, okay? All right, we're going to start right here in Pioneer in the Rainforest, right here. So we see Meg Lohman, that's who this book is about. We see her climbing up in the forest, and I'm going to start reading to you. This is technically page 2, okay? So I want you following along, even though I'm not there, your sweet sub is going to be checking to make sure you're following along with what I'm reading, okay? Meg Lohman climbs trees. She has climbed trees since she was a little girl in search of insects, leaves, and flowers, and now it's her job. Meg is a rainforest scientist, and her specialty is the very top of the rainforest canopy. So there's different layers of the rainforest, and she studies the very top layer called the canopy. In the past 10 years, Meg has spent at least 5 days a month in the treetops, which adds up to 600 days a year. And this does not include the approximately 10 days every month she spends at the base of trees looking up. Meg wants to know about the relationship between plants and insects in the canopy. She is especially interested in herbivory, leaf and plant-eating insects and other animals. So a herbivore is an animal or an insect that eats plants, and so herbivory, something like that, is the study of those animals and insects that eat those plants. She wants to know which insects eat which leaves and how their feeding affects the overall growth of the rainforest. To answer these questions, she must spend a great deal of time either up in the tree or back in her laboratory studying samples. Meg's lab is at the Mary Selby Botanical Gardens. It's a rainforest research center in Sarasota, Florida, where she is the director of research and conservation. Something really cool about Meg Lohman is that she works a lot in Raleigh too at our Museum of Natural History. So that's really cool. So we might get to talk to her at some point in this unit, I really hope. So we see her working in Sarasota, Florida, and this would be her laboratory or her greenhouse where she brings back some of the plants from the rainforest for further study. It's a long page, so settle in. Meg cannot remember a single day in her life when she wasn't either looking at or studying a plant, leaf, flower, or insect, except possibly those days she went to the hospital to give birth to her 2 sons, Edward and James. Since Meg was 6, she has been fascinated by the natural world. As a child, she had a bird's nest collection, a rock collection, a shell collection, an insect and butterfly collection, and a bud collection. Her bedroom was stuffed with outdoor treasures. Her great love was flowers. In the 5th grade, she was the only child in her class to enter the state science fair. She made a wildflower collection and won 2nd prize. So you can see Meg Lohman right here. You can see her as a 5th grader when she entered that competition. When Meg was 10 years old, she was intrigued by 2 women, so she wanted to know more about these 2 women. Rachel Carson, who was one of the first environmentalists, and she studied and wrote about the delicate relationships in the web of life. And Harriet Tubman, new movie out, I'm going to see it this weekend. Some of you have seen it. But Harriet Tubman, she was the most famous conductor of the Underground Railroad. Threading through the countryside and deep woods on long, frightening nights, Harriet Tubman guided countless African Americans out of slavery to freedom. Meg read that she often navigated by feeling for moss that grew on the north side of trees. So it was kind of like her compass. But it was not only moss that she had to look for. She had to know which berries and nuts could be eaten, which could make the difference between starvation and survival. She had to know how to find a swamp to plunge into when slave-hunting dogs bore down. The sulphurous mud and slime could disguise a human scent and confuse the dogs. She had to be attuned to the environment in order to guide her people on their perilous journey. Harriet Tubman says Meg was a pioneer field naturalist, one of the first women field naturalists in this country. So if you haven't noticed, we're going to be doing a lot of girl power in this unit, so prepare your heart. Meg is definitely got some girl power going on. When Meg is at Selby Gardens, she busily sorts, classifies, and prepares the samples of plants, flowers, and insects she has brought back from her explorations in rainforest canopies all over the world. She has a special permit that allows her to collect many rare specimens, some of which are brought back to live and continue to grow in the greenhouses, which this is the greenhouse I told you about. Selby has one of the largest collections of orchids and bromeliads in the world. I'm going to be teaching you a lot more about what these plants look like as we get closer and we close read some of these pages, but you can just kind of imagine it. A lot of these plants are ones that we'll be learning about, and I'll be teaching you all their different names, but I'm not going to do that today. Just know it's coming. So now we're on this page where she's gluing down different leaves. Sometimes Meg brings back parts of plants, leaves, or blossoms. These she must carefully preserve by pickling or pressing. To pickle plant parts, she puts them in a solution of alcohol and water. Although their color might change, the flowers retain their three-dimensional form for study. So kind of like we turn cucumbers into pickle by putting them in a brine, she'll pickle the flowers, not to eat, but so that she can study them and they won't disintegrate. To press a plant specimen, she folds the flowers and leaves carefully in newspaper, then places them between sheets of cardboard where they begin to dry out. Back at Selby, the drying is finished in low-temperature ovens. Finally, the oven's it doesn't bake them, it just gets all the moisture out of them because the moisture is what really makes them disintegrate. Finally, Meg glues them down on special acid-free paper. Each preserved plant is carefully tagged and labeled and then put in the herbarium, plant library. So I think it's really cool that there's a library somewhere where you don't go and read other books. You go and just literally pull out different plants to study, and it's really cool. Sorry, y'all know I get really excited about stuff like this. To gather species of plants and insects, Meg has climbed ropes to pluck leaves, sailed aloft in hot air balloons to gather orchids, swung on trapezes through the foliage, and even hung over the side of an inflatable raft resting on the canopy. Meg has tried most methods of ascent or going up in her exploration. My light just went out, I'm sorry. Of the canopy, and it has been exciting. She has not only found marvelous insects, but has joined the butterflies, swung with the spider monkeys, and peered into the magical little frog ponds at the tops of the trees and the tanks of the bromeliad. Remember, I told you, I'm going to show you what that plant is. It's a plant that comes up over and over in this book. Okay, these are our last 2 pages, so wake up, pay attention, here we go. For a human being, ascending to the canopy is not easy. There is so much to conquer: gravity, stinging ants, rotten trunks, and thorns. For years, rainforest scientists stood in the deep shadows of the forest floor, looking up as an occasional shaft of pale green light broke through. They could only wonder about the canopy, brilliantly lit, noisy with bird life and the chatterings of monkeys. They knew that the canopy was the powerhouse of the rainforest, the place where most of the photosynthesis occurs and where 95% of the biomass, or the things that are alive, the living things of the rainforest, is produced. The canopy is where the rainforest life begins, yet for years it remained out of reach. Even deep sea exploration was easier. It was easier to go way down in the trenches of the sea than it was to get up at these really tall trees. Last page, here we go. The rainforest canopy has been likened to an undiscovered continent, kind of a last frontier. Since the mid-1980s, better technology has been developed, offering new ways for scientists to overcome the natural obstacles of gravity, ants, and thorns. Such scientists, however, must be strong, fearless, and physically fit, as well as smart and hardworking. Woman power. They must be as skillful as any mountaineer, perhaps more so, for the cliffs they ascend are made not of rocks, but of leaves and branches of enormous elasticity. These women and men are the pioneers of a newly discovered continent as they feel their way up to the brightly lit canopy. So we'll pick up tomorrow on the next chapter, Out of the Shadow and Into the Light. We'll pick up here tomorrow. So we're just kind of getting started. As I said, we're going to just start reading the book, and then we're going to kind of read through the first part of it, and then we're going to come back through and make sure that we understand everything. We'll do a lot of close reading and stuff like that. So, I'm so glad you got to join Miss Simpson for story time this afternoon. I'm sorry that I'm not at school today. I wish that I was. I love you very much. You get to watch a cool rainforest video in just a minute. Be on your best behavior, and hopefully I'll have a treat for you when I come back tomorrow. Bye, guys!